friends, welcome to Daily Sourdough. Today I have everybody's favorite recipe, Neapolitan pizza with a crispy, tangy sourdough crust. Fantastic and so easy to make. You start with unfed starter and you'll use just a half cup of it. And the reason you use unfed starter is because you want your starter to be really hungry. It will then begin to devour that gluten in your flour and make a really nice stretchy crust. So a half cup of unfed starter. Now add 1 1/4 cup warm water, so about 115 degrees, and pour that in with your starter. Then stir that up and let that soften and dissolve. And that warm water will help to soften that cold starter really quickly. Make those yeast and bacteria lively and ready to feed on the flour. Now once that is stirred up, add 1 1/2 teaspoons salt and 3 1/3 cups bread flour. We'll just dump all that in at once and then stir it up. Once it gets stirred up fairly well, then we'll use our hand to finish mixing it. And remember, it's always best to use your hand because then the warmth of your hand helps that wild yeast and the wild bacteria become very lively and active and eat up that gluten in your flour and feed on the lactic acids. So just squeeze your dough until it's all mixed in. After that's mixed very thoroughly with your hand, dust your counter with some flour and knead your dough until it's smooth and elastic and forms a very nice smooth ball. That'll take a few minutes. And it's important to knead your dough until it's very smooth and elastic, because when you're shaping the pizza dough, you want to be able to stretch it really thin so that you get that crispy cracker-like crust. So just keep working at it until it's smooth and elastic. And this, what you're doing is just helping that gluten to strengthen and develop. I've been kneading this dough for probably 4 to 5 minutes straight, and it is getting very smooth and soft. And as you can see, the texture of it has changed dramatically. And see that smooth surface? So we've developed a lot of gluten with all that kneading, which will give it a lot of stretch. Now, put it in a clean bowl. Now, put it on your counter for 12 to 24 hours. It needs a really long fermentation time to develop that nice tang and that real stretchy texture so that you can shape your pizza dough and get that really thin crust. So cover it and let it sit on your counter, and we'll see you tomorrow. Okay friends, it's 11 a.m. on the second day. My dough has been sitting on the counter overnight, and look at the rise. It is so puffy and perfect. It's risen so much. So we're going to make pizza for lunch so that it's at its peak rise when we make it. So take your dough out of the bowl and put it on the counter. And then this can either make 2 large pizzas or 3 smaller pizzas, whichever you prefer. And I'm going to make 3 smaller pizzas today. So divide your dough into either 2 or 3 pieces and then roll them up into a ball the way you do when you're forming your bread. And if it's a little too sticky, just put a little flour on it and then form it into a nice little ball. Put it to the side and then form the next one. Then after your dough has been formed into your balls, let it rest on the counter while your oven heats up to 500 degrees. And then while this is resting on the counter, you can also prepare your toppings. My oven is 500 degrees now, and make sure it's really hot. And in fact, I have my pizza stone in the oven heating up as well. If you don't have a pizza stone, you can just bake it on a cookie sheet, but the pizza stone helps make a really crispy crust because it's hot as well. So as soon as the pizza touches the stone, it begins cooking. So it's in the oven, it's 500 degrees, and now I'm ready to shape my pizza. And I do have a pizza peel, but I don't even like it because my pizza always sticks to it. So I prefer using just a piece of cardboard. It slides right off into the oven that way. So I'm gonna dust my pizza peel cardboard and then begin to shape my dough. In order to have the real thick outer crust and the thin, crispy inner crust, this is the best way to shape your pizza dough. First, take your pizza ball and flatten it into a disc. Then pick it up and holding it like a steering wheel, you rotate it, holding the pizza crust with your hand to keep it fat and letting gravity pull the dough out and down, making the inside thinner. So just keep working it, and you want to do this very gently, very slowly. You're in no rush here. And the dough should stretch really well because it's been sitting on the counter for a good long time. Anywhere between 12 and 24 hours. Then sometimes it gets too soft after that. But see how it's starting to stretch out, but the outer rim is fat still, and that makes that nice traditional pizza crust. You can tell it's getting thinner because I can see light through it. And once it gets to a certain size, then put the dough over your knuckles and just gently stretch it so that that center gets nice and thin. Oh, and we don't want to tear it. And if it's about to tear, then we'll just lay it down and call it good. So the traditional Neapolitan pizza has just very basic ingredients. You have tomatoes, mozzarella cheese, and basil. And I'm going to use, these are crushed tomatoes in a sauce. So spread that sauce on your pizza dough, and you don't want very much sauce because that will just weigh your pizza down and make it soggy. You just want enough to taste. That's all you need. And spread it out almost to the rim of the pizza. Then take your fresh mozzarella cheese, and if it's wet at all, take a paper towel and squeeze it with the paper towel because you don't want it to make your pizza soggy. Then pull the cheese apart and lay it on your pizza. Put as much on as you like. Then lay some basil leaves on the top to make it beautiful and taste delicious. And pop it in the oven. And just slide it onto your heated pizza pan. Then we'll cook it for about 8 minutes at 500 degrees. My pizza cooked for 12 minutes, so anywhere between 8 and 12 minutes, depending on how hot your oven is maybe. But once it comes out of the oven, then drizzle a little olive oil over the top and it is ready to devour. Sourdough pizza is always delicious, so I hope you enjoyed this video, and stay tuned because I have more pizza videos and more sourdough recipes coming up on Daily Sourdough.